on the desk? Yeah, you got it. Awesome.
Computer.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Again, Monday night is the Monday night show, Monday night mastermind. Thank you guys for taking the time out to spend it with us. The purpose of this call is to always bring value to everybody. I bring on a speaker, or I try to bring on a good speaker every week that pertains to what we're doing. Okay, so this week we've talked, or past couple of weeks we talked a lot about marketing and how important marketing is, social media, podcasts, LinkedIn, Instagram. So I was able to bring on one of my good friends from high school, and she has been in the podcast space for a while, and I've seen her grow. So we're going to ask her and talk to her about her journey. But she is one of the top podcast people out there. She says she's broken the game or broken the system, both in LinkedIn and in podcasts. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, definitely she is going to crush it and just share a bunch of secrets there. She'll be joining us shortly, probably in the next 7 to 10 minutes. But in the meantime, I guess for anyone that is new, we'll just share a little more of how this story came from, who I am, and what we're doing here in this mastermind. So mainly this mastermind on Monday night is to talk about multifamily. Multifamily is one of the biggest topics that we talk about here, all the different ways to do a deal, underwrite deals. We don't go specifically into that because this is on a more introductory level. There's a lot of people that come from my Instagram, come from social media that will join on any given week. We put money behind that. So, for anybody new that is in here, it will be on an introductory level. There will be speakers basically every single week, and it'll be on different things. I'm going to bring my CPA back in here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to bring a syndication attorney in here in the next couple weeks. So lots of value for anybody that is in the multifamily space or want to get into it. The second thing about this call is that there will be a portion that is set up to network. And every single week I hear just amazing feedback about the breakout rooms. All right, people meeting, just great stories of, meeting the exact person that they needed to meet. And a lot of great connections in there. So that's one of the best parts of this call. And yeah, everybody loves the breakouts. So as we start this call, obviously the more people on this call, the more you will get to network with each other, the more people will start to kind of get on the same level, mindset wise and goal wise, right? So when you have more people that are riding the wave with you, are going on this journey with you, you can go further, you can go faster, you can go further. Or I just said further, faster, and further. Just a little background about me while we wait for Hala to join us is, I've been in the real estate game for the last 18 years. And I started as most people have, reading the Purple Bible, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And definitely, I was just thinking about it this weekend, like, that's a book that is revolutionary. I think it has changed so many people's lives, like insane. And so I took his $10,000 coaching program when I was 18, and $10,000 for an 18-year-old, that was a lot of money. I realized in that program that I will not work for anybody, and that no matter what, I will be building my own brand, and I'm going to create financial freedom through real estate. So that's what I did. First 10Ks. Yeah. So we want to change that though, Andrea. We want to change that. 10K is not going to be a lot of money. right? We want to change our mindsets and what we spend it on. It's all relative. 10K is a lot of money for what, right? Is it a lot of money to spend on yourself? Is it a lot of money for your growth? Yes, it's a lot of money if you buy a cell phone for $10,000, but it's not really a lot if you're thinking on the grand scale of like if I invested in myself, you know. And a lot of us have joined different masterminds, paid for different courses. Some of them we might think, wow, it didn't really pan out. Maybe I wasted my money. But I'm going to tell you that every dollar you've ever spent on your own course, on a course for yourself in a mastermind, none of that was ever wasted. Okay. Each time that you do that, you're actually building up your own value. You're telling yourself that I am worth spending $5,000 on a course. I am worth spending $25,000 in the mastermind every time. Yeah, there you go. Be like Chris, spend $95,000 a year on education. I bet you he's getting multiple times return on that now, you know, and he knows that he's going to get it. He's done it, you know, it's not his first time doing that. Probably every year he's spending more and more. That's my goal. My goal is this year I'm about to be at 115K on my education, on my masterminds. And I'll tell you right now, in the beginning of the year, I thought that was crazy. Spending $25,000 on Grant's mastermind, I thought it was insane. I've never done that before. You know, I've spent 5K, I've spent 10K, I've spent a couple $100, you know, on courses. But dropping that 25K changed my whole life. I had 12 units prior to that 25K being spent. Now with today's closing, about over 800 units as a general partner. Okay, so that's just today. That's just in such a short time, 11 months. And if I look back at it, one connection, one person that I met in Grant Cardone's club was worth that 25,000. Right? Meeting somebody like John Sidoti, meeting somebody like Mike Bailey, every single one of you guys. I'm going to say that every one of you guys came from me spending that $25,000. This mastermind would not be where it is if I didn't do that. I wouldn't have had the courage to step into speaking in front of all these people. I wouldn't have had the confidence in creating a team with Nick and Caroline. I wouldn't have had any of that stuff, any systems in place, and also spending money on my own social media, everything. You know, now it's changed my mindset completely. Like, I know what I'm doing. My course is this way. Anything else that requires my attention, I must outsource. Because my value of time has grown because I've invested in myself, and that 25,000 said, Alex, you're worth 25,000. Then I joined Rod Cleave's crew. That's 20,000. Alex, you're worth another 20,000, right? Then you go fly here, fly there, join a different group. Hey, another 20,000. So you're really telling yourself what your time is worth when you're spending that. And so many people are afraid to even drop a little bit of money on their own personal growth. And I'm going to say, for anybody that did spend money, right? If you spent money this year in a course, in a mastermind, on something, type in put a 1 in the chat. Yeah. So look at, you got someone put a lot of 1s. Yeah, listen, this is the way to do it. You have to pay for speed, and you have to pay, and you got to invest in yourself. If you invest in yourself, that return is infinite. No one will ever be able to take that away from you. If you invest in a deal, yes, you might get money back. Yes, you might get some experience. But when you're investing in your own growth, you're saying that my value is more, my time is more. And when you change that relationship with money and yourself, 10,000 won't seem like a lot. Next year, I'm looking to spend at least 150 on my own growth. Right? I'm looking at what's the next big mastermind to join? What's the big club to join? How do I play on a different level? So right now, what's opened up for me is Tony Robbins. Okay, Tony Robbins, I think his platinum group, his Lions group, or whatever it's called. I'm interested in getting in there. So I want to network. Network is your net worth. And one of the greatest ways to network is to do it on social media. And so let me see. I think I just saw Hala join in here. Okay, in the meantime, while I try to find her, if you guys want to do me a favor and just post somewhere in your social media or in your in the WhatsApp group or something like that, like, hey, this meeting is going on, come check it out. There's going to be great value being provided as soon as we get Hala on here.
I'm here. You just can't find me.
Where are you? Holy crap.
I'm in purple. You can't really miss me. I have a hot pink desk and a bright background.
I see you. Hey, oh my God. Cool. So for those of you guys that just joining, I'm super honored to bring an old friend and a really one of the most successful people that I personally know in the online podcast, LinkedIn, all the social media stuff that I know. So thank you for being here. And let me see. Let me just make sure we're all set. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Alex, and I'm really proud of you. Me and Alex went to high school together, and we actually, we're really close buddies. And then we actually went to the same college, so it's really cool to see him really leveling up in his life, and we both are doing really cool things. So also proud of you, Alex.
Oh, thank you. So this is going to be recorded, everybody, and I'm really excited to be here with Hala. So Hala is the host of Young and Profiting. So you guys see back there, Yap. Her Instagram is, what is it? Yap with Hala?
Yeah, Yap with Hala.
Okay, cool. And she's going to talk to us about, I'm going to ask her a lot of questions about her podcast and her journey. But I think are you going to talk to us about LinkedIn and how you're the top dog in LinkedIn?
I'm happy to talk about whatever. I'm a total expert in everything social media and podcasting. They call me the podcast princess, and I'm one of the top influencers right now on LinkedIn. So I know a lot about that platform. Also growing really fast on Instagram and YouTube. So I've got a lot of knowledge that I think I can help everybody with.
Okay, cool. So we have a limited time with her. She's super busy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask her some questions that I'm interested in. Then we're going to open it up for you guys to ask some questions. And hopefully we can get all the questions in. So first of all, can you just share a little bit about yourself? What you're up to now and how big you are. Sure. How big you are.
Okay, so my name's Hala. I'm the host of Young and Profiting. If you go look right now, I'm one of the top 10 entrepreneurship podcasts on Apple, one of the top 20 business podcasts on Apple. And so I have over 500,000 subscribers for my podcast. I've interviewed people like Matthew McConaughey, Deepak Chopra. I just interviewed Alex Hormozi the other day. So it's a great podcast. I've been doing it for 4.5 years. When I started my podcast, I started my LinkedIn journey because most of my audience is young professionals, entrepreneurs. So LinkedIn was where it's at. Now I'm one of the top 10 influencers on LinkedIn. That led me to start my social media agency called Yap Media, which now has 60 people all around the world who work for me. And I run channels for best-selling authors, CEOs, celebrities, and I run all of their social media, their LinkedIn, their Instagram, their YouTube, and a lot of different podcasts. And then in addition to that, I launched my own podcast network. That's why they call me the podcast princess, because I host a top podcast and I'm also, running the podcast industry basically. And so I have about half of the top 20 business podcasts in my network, and I grow and I monetize them. So that's me in a nutshell: social media agency, podcast network, and host of a top podcast and social media influencer.
That was a whole lot in one breath. So let's just scale it back a little bit. If I was to start my own podcast, and you and I have talked a little bit about this, if I start my own podcast right now, what should be my path? Just for anybody here.
So, monetizing a podcast is a long game and it really takes a lot of growth. And you've got to be a big podcast before you get sponsorships. So, if you are looking to start a podcast, you need to have a clear why. You need to understand why you're going to do it. It needs to be something beyond just money. And I would suggest that you have a business behind it. So, you're teaching something and then you're selling either a course, or you've got, for instance, my social media agency, 90% of our clients are actually guests who come on the podcast, find out about me, are impressed with me, I build trust, and then they become my client. That's actually the first way that I started to monetize my podcast. So I would say, like, have a business first and then figure out how you can interview your potential clients. That's a great way to monetize your show. Or have some sort of offering that you are pitching to your listeners, where even if only 1,000 people a month listen to your show, if 10 people buy your product, you're happy. So it's just hard to monetize, and you really need to be good at marketing as well as hosting a podcast. So if you're not willing to invest either in learning yourself or hiring a team to help you grow it, it's going to be really hard to monetize.
So one thing that I heard right there is you got to outsource some of these things, right?
100%, unless you're an expert and are willing to take the time to actually do it yourself, I would suggest that you hire a team to help you produce your show. Audio editing is a great thing to outsource, and then the marketing, you really need to invest in the marketing. That's what people miss. They think that they're going to put up a show, people are going to find them. That's not how it works. There's so many podcasts out there and lots of competition. You need to be ranking in the apps. That takes marketing dollars. You need to be doing media buying, social media. And it's a whole thing in itself, just marketing the podcast. And most people miss that.
Yeah, and the last time that we talked, one of the things that stuck with me is that you said you make a pretty substantial amount on your podcast, just from sponsorships and ads.
Yeah.
And you invest like all of that back into marketing. Is that what is, did I hear that right?
Pretty much. So, on average, we're making anywhere from like 50 to 60 grand a month on my podcast alone, right? And I do invest a lot of that back into the production of the show, into ads, into sending gift boxes to my guests, and making sure that we make a good impression on my guests. So we do invest a lot back into the growth of the podcast. I would say anywhere from like $10,000 to $15,000 a month is what we're spending in media buying. I want that to be like 10x though next year. Like all the big dogs are spending 100 grand a month, investing in their podcast.
Yeah, I Grant Cardone actually on stage this year said he spends $1 million a month on ads, and he does $400,000 to $600,000 a day in sales from what he offers. So, this is the beginning of the conversation was about spending money. Somebody said $10,000 is a whole heck of a lot of money, but you got to up that. You got to change your relationship to money.
100%. I have shows in my network that are like, I'm like, hey, you really need to grow your downloads, or we're not going to be able to even have you be eligible for all the sales channels that I'm eligible for. You need to hit a certain threshold before anybody even considers you, right? And so people don't understand that. They're like, well, I want to see results first. I want you to monetize first. And I'm like, well, you literally aren't going to be looked at because you're not big enough. And they don't realize that you need to invest first and then you see the return. And if you make smart investments in the way that you do your advertising, you can arbitrage it. You spend a certain amount of money and you make more back, right? So I think people discount that and they're afraid to invest when that's the first thing you should do if you believe in your product or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that right there is huge. You got to believe in your product to put money behind it. I hear so often in real estate too, I need to see some returns first. I'm like, well, you got to invest first in order to see some returns, right? So yeah, that's huge. Thank you for bringing that up. So, I'm trying to start a podcast too, and I'm up to a bunch of big things. So I've kind of put that on the back burner. But so my podcast, I want to start it. What do I do?
Okay, so one of the things you want to do is make sure that, first of all, you do your competitive research. So you want to look at all the categories on Apple or Chartable, and you want to see what category you want to be placed in. So let's say it's real estate under business, or it's probably under investing in business. You want to see what your competition is doing, and you want to come up with a name that's going to be searchable in the apps. This is something that I did wrong. My podcast is called Young and Profiting. And so to grow mine, I had to spoon feed it to everyone and become an influencer in order to I had to become an influencer on social media first, and then my podcast blew up. That was the order of operations for me. Where if you come up with a name that's more searchable and people will land on it searching in Google or searching in the app, you'll be better off. So whatever your keyword is, make sure it's in your title, make sure it's in your description. That's not going to be like instant recipe for success, but it's going to help you a decent amount. The other thing that you want to do is figure out how you stand out. So are you going to do shorter episodes? Are you going to do daily episodes? What's going to make you different from all the other podcasts in your niche? Then you're going to want to figure out how you can become friends with everyone in your niche, because podcasting is a collaborative game. The number one way to grow in podcasting is to be visible on the podcast apps. So that means you need to be guesting on shows. You need to do commercials on other shows. You need to be buying ads on the podcast players. You need to know who the industry people are and get in the podcasting industry. Too many people try to be podcasters and they don't want to actually learn about the industry or become part of the industry, and you'll never win that way. You need to play the game. So I would say those are the first couple of steps, other than, recording your episodes and coming up with a format and everything.
How many episodes should I record?
Before you get started, you should record, I would say, at least 8, and then you should release probably 4 to launch, because you want people to binge. And the way that rankings work is, they'll take your downloads over the past, week or so, and then you'll rank. So you want people to binge listen and have more than one episode to listen to, so you can actually start to rank and get a significant amount of downloads. So I would say launch about 4 and have 4 in the can. So if you get sick or whatever, you have some episodes to back you up. And I would say if you aren't ready to do at least 1 episode a week, you're not ready to launch a podcast. Some people think, oh, I'll do once a month. You're never going to grow a fan base releasing something once a month. Once a week at minimum. And I'd say if you want to take it seriously, twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay. Got it. So on this topic of podcast, does anybody have any questions? I know a lot of people here wanted to do podcasts, so
I'm happy to answer any question.
Here we go. Nick and Maria.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey.
So my name is Maria. This is Nick. I just wanted to tell you, I have already started my podcast. I have a coach. I have the team around me for marketing. I'm getting ready to record my episodes, but right now I want to make sure I'm capturing all the listeners the correct way. So how do you capture your people so I could monetize that for myself?
So when you say capture your people, do you mean from social media or your podcast itself?
For the podcast itself. So if they're downloading my podcast, how will I know that?
How will you know have you launched your podcast yet?
Not yet. I'm not launching January 1st. I'm trying to get all of my episodes banked up right now, trying to get my trailer done, trying to get the first people to start downloading it. But I want to know how I'm going to get to those people who download it.
Okay. So you're going to have a hosting provider. Okay. And so you got to select your hosting provider. I would suggest like Lispin, right? Is a good one for starters. There you're going to get your download information.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, it's going to take you a long time before you're actually eligible for sponsorships. That doesn't happen right away.
And that's okay.
So typically you need to be getting about 10,000 downloads a week. Nowadays, even 25,000 downloads a week before you're even eligible to sign up for something like AdvertiseCast or Gumball, or the first place you would go to monetize your show. There's all these agencies out there. The big ones are AdvertiseCast and Gumball for like independent podcasters. You sign up, but you need to have 25,000 downloads a week before they'll even consider you to become part of the network, because it's not worth it for them to spend time selling your show before it's that big. Okay.
Right.
Then you get sponsorships based on the number of downloads. So it's $20 to $40 depending on your niche per 1,000 downloads. So that's actually not a lot when you think about it. You need to be getting 200,000 downloads before it's worth your salt a month. And the thing that you do need to realize as well is that you can layer on commercials. So although let's say you make $500 a commercial, you can have 5 commercials in an episode, and then it is kind of a decent amount of money, right? And so I would suggest you forget about that for now. It's way too early. You need to focus on having a great show, making sure you have SEO on the app, figuring out how to convert your social media followers to your podcast, which I can talk about later. So do you have any social following, or do you have any following right now?
Right now, I've got almost 600 followers on Instagram. I'm getting ready to launch it to be public probably this week, and then I'll be putting out more about my podcast. I haven't done it yet.
And what is the name of your podcast? Just curious.
It's Apartment Wealth.
Apartment Wealth?
Mhm.
So what I would do is really figure out how you can reach out to the other people in your niche and team up with them.
Okay.
And figure out how you can provide value to them where they would actually want to help you, where you would guest on their show, they would guest on your show. You would give them free commercials, they would give you free commercials, and you've got to just trade your way up, because right now you have nothing to leverage in terms of your audience, right? You need to build something up. You may as well build up your podcast, but the way to do that is going to have to be meeting people in your niche and either paying to get commercials on their show or doing something where they would feel like it's valuable to do a swap. And if they're smaller shows, they might just like be willing to do that. If it's a bigger show, you might have to pay.
I understand. But for now, I'm okay paying that just to get me started, because it's all about trading that and trying to get the more viewers to my podcast.
Exactly. So I would get commercials on other podcasts in your niche. Reach out to those podcasters and be like, hey, I'd love to, advertise on your show. Then you can sign up to something called Chartable.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually track those commercials and see who listened to that commercial and downloaded your show. And the ones that do well, you can keep investing in that. So I would say that would be like the number one way to launch your show. Since it's so niche, just focus on doing commercials on niche podcasts.
Awesome. So when Alex starts his podcast, I can then put my commercial on his podcast.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope it was helpful.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Chris.
Yo, what's up, guys? Hey, so a question for you, kind of a higher level here, maybe over some heads, but I see that, you do everything from LinkedIn management, YouTube, Instagram. So when you do your podcast, how much of that content are you syndicating and repurposing to link everywhere else? And this is coming from a content marketer. So I take YouTube videos that I do, whether they're technical or not. I have YouTube transcribe them, put the transcription on my web pages, and then I have article writers write articles about that. So taking that format, how much of your content do you re-syndicate and use in different areas?
Yeah, so we always take my episodes and we put the full episode on YouTube. We chop it up for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for YouTube in all different formats and lengths. So we're pulling about 10 clips or so per episode, also for TikTok. And so all different formats, chopping it up. We transcribe it, we create show notes, we put it on my website. And then the other thing that we do is I do clips episodes is what we call them. They're Yap Snacks, where I take little clips from all the different episodes and create new content. So for example, I interviewed Alex Ramosi and Robert Cialdini, who both talk about persuasion and influence. And I'm going to do a snacks episode, cutting up those clips and narrating in between to come up with new content. Because for me, every time I put out an episode, it's a lot of money. I can monetize that. So to your point, it's always good to repurpose your stuff. So, on the same page as you.
Deal. And then, I'm interested in some of your stuff. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Boom. Already. Okay, good. Glad we're providing value for you as well while you're here. Donna, go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
So in terms of like the physical technology that you're using, like what are you using to record? I mean, I see you have a big microphone, but are there any other types of technology that you're using?
Yeah, so in terms of, there's really only 2 things or 3 things that you need to get started. First of all, a platform to record. A lot of people use Zoom, but Zoom is for meetings. It's not for podcasters. And so a lot of people get that wrong. The video quality is off. You don't get 2 different feeds, and that makes for like lower quality production. So I would use riverside.fm. And I think if you use promo code YAP, you get 30% off still. I'm not positive, but you could try it. So it's riverside.fm. That's the best one to record. In terms of Microphone, I like the Shure MV7. It's just a USB mic. You can travel with it. It's really easy. It's just plug and play. And then you need a webcam. I like the C2922. It's a Logitech. Any Logitech webcam will be good enough to start with. So that's all you need: a laptop, a webcam, because video is really important now, a USB mic, again, the Shure MV7, and Riverside.fm. And that's bare minimum to get started. And you'll be like light years ahead of most people.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Nice. I need my traveling kit. I got my Logitech cam. I don't have my mic though.
The
Go
Shure
ahead, Ryan.
V7 is really good.
I'm on it. Is there a code that I can get?
Not for sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Ryan. You're muted, bro.
Great to meet you. Yeah. So
Nice to meet you.
gosh. Okay. Wait. Okay. we had two audios going here, so there was some feedback. So anyway, so I like Chris have my own digital marketing agency, and I did just start my own podcast. I use Libsyn, and I did, I focus a lot on a certain topic, and I'm glad that it is keyword optimized, the name of my podcast. And my question really is, and I think you've already asked it. It sounds like you record everything with video. Obviously, it's not just audio, and you don't recommend. I mean, how important is it to go the video route? Because I like repurposing. I noticed a lot of these guys years ago that were podcasters started to record in video, and then they would just repurpose for YouTube and Insta and TikTok and just chop things up. And also, I guess, are you concerned? Do you notice that there's any less reach that you get when you repurpose on any particular channel? And if so, which ones?
Yeah, good question. I think it's really important to do video content because audio, by nature of it, is not visible online, right?
Yep.
So the only way to be visible online is to have video marketing. And by nature, having a human element makes things more compelling. People like to watch things that have humans on it. So audiograms work terribly on social media. I have dozens of clients. I won't even allow them to post audiograms because they work terribly. Nobody cares. It's not engaging enough. To stand out now, you need to be big, bold. You need a human in there. Talking head videos get boring though. So you need to keep them short, keep them compelling, put trending audio behind it, use emojis, use captions. Those things are really important or else it's going to get really boring. So I would say video is really, really important. But the thing is that you can't spread yourself too thin, right? So I don't know where you're at in your journey, but if you don't have the resources to go really big on all the channels, focus on one platform that you're going to use video for. I see too many people trying to tackle every platform, and I would have never been successful had I done that. I decided that I was going to dominate LinkedIn, and for 2 years, all I did was post on LinkedIn, and I became the biggest podcaster on LinkedIn. Then I could go to all the apps and be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Hala. I'm the biggest podcaster on LinkedIn. Bigger following than Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes. I have more engagement than anyone else. Had I focused on Instagram, that would have never happened because it would have taken too much time because it was just oversaturated. I would have never stood out. So I use that as leverage to blow up my podcast. And so you need to have leverage on one social platform, not 10. So it's either YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. You pick one and you focus everything on that because you need to grow one channel first before you then leverage it for everything else. So I would say don't spread yourself too thin. I've got a team of 60 people helping me do all of this. You know what I mean? Well, let's say 10 people just on my stuff. So you said you have a marketing team. So tell me more about, okay.
Yeah, I got 29 people. And I mean, one of the things that I've used in the past is like Vidyard. And I mean, I spoke at like the Periscope Summit back in the day. And, so I like the multi-channel, one to many and going on all the channels at one time. But I agree with you. And I've talked to a lot of my buddies, we probably have some similar friends, but yeah, basically, I mean, I hear what you're saying about focusing on one. And I'm wondering are you seeing any loss of reach though? Once you do get to the point where you do multi-purpose, because I know I see Alex doing it, in a lot of people, and I think you are too as well, right? I mean, are you seeing any loss?
So what are you talking about? Live streaming across multiple platforms? What do you mean loss of reach? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So what I'm saying is repurposing, like creating a podcast video and then repurposing it for TikTok and using like YouTube Shorts or long form 10-minute videos, from the content that you create from your podcast or.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think a lot of people are creating podcast content with the goal of growing their audio podcast, but they're actually not closing the loop. So this is the biggest mistake that I see people do. A lot of people on social media, 50% or more of people on social media, they don't even listen to podcasts. So you're putting out this content and these people don't even listen to podcasts, okay? Then when people engage on your content, the number one thing that you should do is retarget them in the DMs and say, hey, I noticed that you watched this micro content clip of my podcast. I'd love for you to listen to the full episode. If you're not doing that, the chances of actually converting social media engagers into podcast followers is next to zero.
Yeah.
And so if you're not closing the loop, actually DMing the people who engage on that content, then you're not going to get the reach that you want. So that's why I think you really ought to focus on one channel, learn the features, learn how to, get the most visibility that you can per video and maximize that channel and then retarget the engagers once you do get momentum and pull them to your podcast. When you're focused too thin on everything, I feel like that's when people get lost and they get little results. So that's what I would suggest.
All right, thanks.
That's helpful. Thanks.
Hey, Hala. So one of so what you're saying is, because a lot of people focus on just views or, on their Instagram, how many followers they have, things like that. Are you saying that converting them over to something else is more important that people should focus on right now?
Well, it depends on their goals, right? I don't know everybody's exact goals, but if you're looking to grow your podcast and rank and be able to get sponsors, you need to take your social media following and convert them into podcast listeners. Or like I said before, you need to be visible on the podcast apps. So when you're spread thin on all of these platforms, you're worried about putting out, like it's a number game. You're trying to put out as much content as possible, but you're not actually converting those viewers into listeners or into something else, right? So it's not about putting out as much content as possible on all these different platforms. It's about actually, bringing those people onto where you're trying to monetize, whether that's onto your website or onto it just depends what your goals are, right? So that's what I think about that.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Ryan. Jonathan, go ahead, brother.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
How you doing? So I had a question. So like me and my girlfriend have actually been talking about like her starting like a TikTok channel because she wants to like start making videos like mom stuff, like that's a big space. So, but there's a lot of content creators on TikTok. So I guess my question is, if you were starting off on TikTok and you wanted to do something on that platform, how would you approach it to stand out as far as the marketing goals and all that?
Yeah, I would say leveraging trending sounds is probably going to be her best bet, and trying to be the first to hop on trends. I would also suggest that she study the other mommy influencers out there and really look at what their highest performing videos are. And the other tip is to like start off out the gate really strong. Because what I noticed with TikTok channels is that, once you start off and you have little momentum, it's very hard to actually get it off the ground. And so I would actually suggest that she opens new channels. Like let's say if she tries it for a month and nothing takes off, I would shut down that channel and try it again until you get like some organic traction. And you start to just get momentum. If like one goes viral, then you like keep that channel, because it's just really hard to like unlock a dead channel on TikTok, if that makes sense.
Do you mean when you say open up new channels, do you mean like a whole new account on the same platform or go?
Yeah, I just noticed that like on TikTok, once you have like some videos that don't do well, it's very hard for your next videos to do well. So like, you almost want to make sure you start off on a really good foot, if that makes sense. I would say like her actually like learning how to use that platform and doing a test account first to get her feet wet. And then once she feels like, unless that really just takes off right away, once she feels like she knows what she's doing, if she's never done anything like this before, chances are she's going to need some practice. I would suggest that you literally close that account down and start a new account with some more experience.
Okay. And you get hired by like TikTok content creators as well for like to help them with their marketing and stuff like that?
Our specialty is LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and podcasting. So we
Okay.
have the TikTok account for me, but I'm not offering it as a service yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
W.
Thank you so much. I have an account just about everywhere, but I don't know how to use them all to the biggest of their advantages. So, but I have some very simple questions in my mind. The difference between podcasting and vlogging,
Yeah.
or vlogging is it vlogging dead? And how long should these podcasts be? What is the sweet spot on the length of these? Or some of them seem to me pretty long. So I don't know what the sweet spot is, or if there is.
Yeah. Okay, so vlogging and podcasting has sort of converged. It's all one and the same. Really, all you need to know is that there's two monetization aspects of it. That's the key differentiator. So audio podcasts are monetized separately, typically, than video podcasts. Okay? Video podcasts are managed on YouTube. And you can embed commercials in there. You can get YouTube money for the amount of views that you get. But audio right now is a lot more lucrative, and audio podcasting is sort of like based on RSS feed. So audio is RSS feed, video is hosted on YouTube. They're monetized differently. That's the difference of vlogging and podcasting, okay? And your second question was?
The length. What's the sweet spot length?
Yeah, so this is a funny question because once you're getting sponsors, like I alluded to before, the more commercials you put in a podcast, the more money you make. So the longer your podcast, the more commercials you can have. That's why a lot of big podcasters have 1.5 hour long episodes, because they can put 6-8 commercials in one episode and it's not going to feel so bad. So that's one strategy that podcasters have to monetize. In terms of audience retention, I would say like 30-40 minutes is a sweet spot. But once you have a big show, you might want to extend your length so you can put in more commercials and make more money per episode.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
How long are your episodes now?
An hour. I typically do about an hour.
And how many commercials can you put in there?
6.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that's it for the podcast for now. Do you have a course or something that you can bring people through podcasts? Do you offer services to help people, start?
Yeah. So in terms of my podcast services, I have a podcast production agency. So it's end to end, where we basically help you launch your show. We can audio edit. We can help you book guests, script questions, create micro content clips, even help you manage your social media for your podcast. So if you guys are interested in that, you could go to yapmedia.io. The other thing I do for podcasts is I grow them. I'm one of the biggest experts in the space on media buying for podcasts. And so I've got all these relationships with the different podcast apps, because they actually used to sponsor me, because like I said, I'm the biggest podcaster on LinkedIn. And so I did a lot of trading when I was coming up. And so I became very close with these apps, and I actually helped them create their ad programs and sell them to my clients. So I can help you grow your show and create your show and eventually monetize your show, because I have a podcast network. So no course yet. I have a LinkedIn masterclass that I just launched, so we could talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about LinkedIn for a second, because I feel like not a lot of people utilize LinkedIn, or people feel like, oh, that's the old generation. But LinkedIn, you're huge on LinkedIn. So tell us a little bit about LinkedIn. I heard that a lot of money is on LinkedIn. So maybe even for you guys that are in.
I literally have made like $5 million on LinkedIn in 2 years. Like, LinkedIn changed my life. I feel like I would have never become a top podcaster if it wasn't for LinkedIn. I would have never been able to launch my company, become an entrepreneur. All of my success since I became an entrepreneur is because of the personal brand that I built on LinkedIn. And so I'm very passionate about this topic, because I feel like it's one of the only platforms left with organic growth. It's real people. Everybody there is somebody. Smart people, very well-off, educated people spend their time there, and any entrepreneur really should be spending their time on LinkedIn. It's the #1 ROI channel for all of my clients. It's always great to have visibility and social proof on Instagram and TikTok, but in terms of actually making money and making real connections, it's all about LinkedIn.
Wow. Okay. So wait, that just sold me right there. When is your course? I'm in. When's your course?
My course is on November 15th and 16th. It's a 2-day workshop. I'm super excited. I run most of the influencer accounts on LinkedIn. And I'm going to be teaching how to create a personal brand. So it's totally from scratch. We're going to do it together. It's about 9 hours of work together that we're going to do. I'm the teacher. It's over 2 days. And so building your personal brand, which includes your voice, your visual identity. We're going to learn design theory for social media, which is relevant for not just LinkedIn, but all the different channels. Then we go into the algorithm. I've totally mastered the algorithm. I get over 5 million views a month on LinkedIn. All of my clients go viral constantly. So I've dealt with everyone from like old white guys to like, I can make anyone, everybody always says, oh, it's easy for you to go viral. And I'm like, no, like I've done this for literally like 80-year-old white men and they still go viral. So I know the recipe and I know how to basically hack the LinkedIn algorithm. So I go through all of that so you really understand it. I teach all of my copywriting techniques. I've been training this to my team for years, and now I've turned all that training into a masterclass. And it's the first time I'm ever launching. Over 500 people joined the waitlist in 24 hours. So really exciting. And that's why I'm like, Alex, I don't have a lot of time. I got to work on my course.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm sorry that we're kind of going a little bit over time.
No, it's fine. I'm making a joke.
Okay. I know. So you're going to probably have a whole bunch of people here because if I'm this excited about it, I think a lot of people are also, I'm seeing in the chats too. I think a lot of people are getting really excited about this. So make sure you get that link to me because I'm going to send this out as the follow-up email with all of your contact and how to get to the course, all of that. So make sure you get that to me.
I have a special offer. My assistant actually thought of it. So if you guys want 50% off the course, you can use the code Alex50.
I like it.
Alex50.
Alex50. Nick, make sure you write this down. We gotta send this out in the whole in our mailing list too. Alex50.
Yeah. So the class is taught by me, and like I said, you'll learn how to copyright. You'll learn design theory. You'll learn how to hack the algorithm. You'll learn how to turn your leads into sales and how to write really compelling DMs so you can actually convert people. So if you are trying to break out on LinkedIn, I am the most knowledgeable person on that platform. I can say that hands down. I'm running all of the influencer accounts right there. And I'm actually going to be launching something where on a monthly basis, I'll help you perform. I can't give you guys the details, but essentially some of the tactics that I use for my clients, you'll be able to access that ongoingly even after the course.
Ooh. Okay, so Nick and Maria got another question real quick.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'll be at another event, a mastermind on the 15th. Is this recorded?
We aren't going to make it recorded, but we probably will offer it again soon.
Oh my gosh.
And it's in the morning, so it's at 11 to 3 p.m. Eastern. So I don't know if your event's at night or not.
No, it's all day the 15th. I mean, like I have it in my cart, like I'm ready to go. If you want to record it.
Maybe let's talk offline. Okay. Alex, give her my email and I can figure out something for her.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Just make sure you reach out to me, Maria. Okay. Info. I might not remember to get it to you, but I will. I promise I will.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. That's awesome. So, hey, everybody, one of the shortcuts, okay, I talk about shortcuts all the time, is if you find somebody that is way more successful and you can get in their proximity and you can hire them for services, do it. All right. So we talked a little bit also about this. If I'm going to launch my podcast, I want to launch it correctly. And I am not afraid to put money behind it. Tell me what to do. Go.
You've got the investment?
With you. Like, well, no. So what can you do to help me get, I want to fast track it. I want to quantum leap all the mistakes that people make. I want you to just help me get there. What would my investment look like to launch a podcast like that?
The cost of it. So
Yeah.
at Yap Media, so first of all, I'm going to just say we're the best. We were literally voted best podcast agency of 2022, right? So we're expensive. I don't know if everybody needs to go that route. I'm not here trying to sell agency services. One of the reasons why I launched my course is because my mission in life is to be a positive voice for my generation. My mission is to help people listen, learn, and profit. That's my goal, right? And my agency, it's $10,000 a month minimum to work with us, right? So it's a very expensive service because we're dealing mostly with celebrities, and I'm a boutique agency, so I can't take on a whole lot of clients. That's why I'm launching my LinkedIn course so that I can teach everybody what we're doing and they can become successful on their own, because what we're doing is just what I've learned over the years that works. Everybody is playing by the wrong rules on something like LinkedIn. So eventually I'm going to do the same thing for my course. For our podcast course is what I'm trying to say. So eventually I'm going to turn all the things that we do at Yap Media for podcasts into a course so you guys can do them on your own. But in terms of if you've got that kind of money and you want to invest in the best podcast agency there is, what we would do at Yap Media is, first of all, create a content strategy for you that's going to be something that's manageable. So all you're literally doing is showing up to record for an hour. Okay. We would give you a research brief if you have a guest show where it has all the information about your guest, you know, what their background info is, the questions that you're going to ask. We would script your intro and outro, and you would show up and record your podcast. You would give us a list of the A-listers you want on your podcast. We'd create a one-pager, and we'd have social media and email campaigns to get those guests on your show. I would be doing things that improve your Apple rankings so that you could rank at the top of the charts and be able to have some bragging rights. I would be doing media buying on all the different podcast apps so that you could have banners in these apps where people would be able to easily click and listen to your show. That would immediately make you a popular podcaster. I'd be getting you podcast commercials on the competitive podcasts in your market so that you could grow, and helping you make the right investment decisions so you could be spending the least amount of money and growing as fast as possible. And then I would be helping you create micro content on social media and retargeting the engagers in the DMs like I was talking about before, so you could actually grow your podcast and turn your social media following into your podcast listeners. And so much more. I mean, we do everything end to end. Like I said, super
Is that
white glove
all
service.
part of that? How much is that? I mean, you said it's minimum 10,000. What's the range here that we're looking at?
Okay, so for four episodes a month, it's $6,000. 8 episodes a month, $12,000 a month. In terms of the media buying, that's a whole different thing. It's a 20% management fee. Whatever you spend, we charge 20% to manage it. So I would recommend that you spend at least $7,000 a month investing in media buying. So all in, for a 4 episode a month, it would be like $13,000 a month to grow it and to have it completely managed for you by the best podcast agency out there.
All right, cool. Is there a Alex 50 code on this thing or what?
Once
No,
I have
I'm
my
just kidding.
course, you'll be the
We'll
first to know.
We'll talk offline for sure about that. And you know, if anybody else here is ready.
Social media questions though. All we're doing is talking podcasting, but that's not relevant
All right,
for everyone.
all right.
Social media is relevant for everyone.
Social
I want
media.
social media questions, guys. I'm like running all these Instagram and LinkedIn accounts. You guys got to have social media questions other than TikTok.
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys right now, a lot of you guys know about my social media journey in the last 5 months. And we talked about it on the last call. Literally the last call, I said, I'm going to bring on a beast in this realm. And we said that if you don't exist in here, you basically don't exist at all, you know, in the business world. So why don't you just start us off? Actually, wait, there's questions already. So why don't you guys just start asking the question, I guess.
Well,
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I also maybe it does make sense for me to talk about kind of how LinkedIn unlocked everything for me. That might be a long story though. We can go with the questions. All good. It is some like, well, you guys actually, I put out an episode about it if you guys want to listen. It's called LinkedIn Secrets or something. But basically my whole career, I started off in corporate. I'll give you guys the 5 minute. I'll try to be as short as possible. I started off my career working in corporate marketing. So I used to work at Hewlett Packard, and I used to also work at Disney streaming services. Okay. I started my LinkedIn journey when I started my podcast. And that's because before that, I used to work in radio. I used to work at Hot 97, and I didn't get a radio job that I wanted. Then I had a website that I grew. It was really popular, called the Sorority of Hip Hop, strawberryblunt.com. I almost had a show on MTV.
I remember that. Strawberry Blunt.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know. Then I almost got a show on MTV right after the Jersey Shore ended, and they cut me. So I got rejected from radio. I got rejected from TV. And by this time, I was like in my mid 20s. And so I was like, oh, I better go get a real job. You know, like I'm like trying to make it in entertainment. Everything is like almost happening, right? I even got rejected from satellite radio. I was the co-host on Sway in the Morning, and then they fired me 2 weeks later. So I got rejected from radio, satellite radio, and TV. So then I go into corporate. I get my MBA, get a 4.0, go into corporate. 3.5 years later, I decide to start this podcast because I was like, I want to go back to broadcasting, right? I start my LinkedIn journey at the same time. For a whole year, I'm getting like maybe 1,000 downloads a month on my podcast. But at the same time, I'm growing my influence on LinkedIn, and I'm becoming super popular. So like I started becoming more in demand at work. I started, being known as like the social media whiz kid at Hewlett Packard. I started interviewing the C-suite and became like the face of the young employees because I was growing my LinkedIn profile. So it gave me job security right off the bat. Then, I used it to grow leverage on my podcast. I started becoming a really big influencer. Like at this, I have like over 180,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is like having 1 million followers on Instagram right now on LinkedIn, because it's actually real people, and the reach is so wide. Like I get 100,000 views on average per post on every time I post on LinkedIn, which is just a crazy amount of views compared to like what you'd get on Instagram, right? So I was able to leverage my LinkedIn following because I reached out to all the different podcast apps, and I was like, hey, what's up? My name's Hala. I'm the most popular podcaster on LinkedIn. If you promote me in your app, if you promote me in your blog, if you promote me in your email, if you promote me on your website, I'll promote you on LinkedIn. And I started doing all these trades, and everybody said yes. Before I knew it, I was on every single podcast app. I got on the cover of Podcast Magazine. I was interviewing Matthew McConaughey, and everything just blew up. It was like a hockey stick growth for my podcast, right? So I got job security. Then my podcast blew up. Then everybody who would come on my podcast at the end of it would be like, can you do my social media for me? Can you do this? How did you blow up on LinkedIn? How did you do this podcast? And at the time, I had 20 volunteers who worked for me for free for 2 years. I had a lot of experience getting volunteers in my past stuff. So I had a volunteer team from the start who worked for free for me. Eventually, somebody on LinkedIn, Heather Monahan, one of the biggest influencers on LinkedIn, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was messaging me on every single video. Hala, you got to do my videos. Hala, you got to do my videos. Finally, she gets on a call. She's like, Hala, your team is better than Gary Vee's. I just was on a call with VaynerMedia, and your stuff is better than theirs. I have to be your first client. So I started my side hustle. 6 months later, I had 30 people around the world, paid employees, was making over $100,000 a month, quit my job at Disney, never looked back. Now, $5 million later, running the number one LinkedIn marketing agency, best podcast agency of 2022, really fast growing podcast network, all because I started my journey on LinkedIn. I literally, if I look back at like what was the thing that really helped me, it was my personal brand on LinkedIn that I was able to leverage and then leverage again and then leverage again and then leverage again. So that's my story in a nutshell in terms of how LinkedIn changed my life.
Okay, cool. That's amazing. I really feel like I should be on LinkedIn more. Nick, Caroline, you guys hear this? This has inspired me. Jonathan, go ahead. You can ask your question.
So I heard you say that that people reached out for you to manage their social media accounts. And I also heard you say that you used to do like some hip hop stuff. Do you manage social media accounts for music artists as well?
I manage social media accounts for anyone. It doesn't matter what their industry is. Our job in onboarding is to understand what you do, understand what your priorities are, come up with a voice, a visual identity. So for me, it's agnostic of what you do. But most of my clients are CEOs or best-selling authors or speakers. I'm just like this business influencer, right? So my podcast is business, my network is business, and most of my clients are in this self-improvement business niche. That's what I've kind of like carved out for myself.
And and one more question, as far as like Instagram ads goes, right? Like I experimented with them a couple of times, and it's kind of like what you say, it's like, it almost seems like you're not really paying for organic views because like they don't really engage. I saw that. So what would your advice be for Instagram?
So let me just stick on paid ads for a second. I think this is such a mistake that people make. And one of the reasons why I'm like, just focus on one platform and get really good, because the best thing you could do for yourself is do pull marketing, not push marketing. So what's pull marketing? That's creating content that resonates with your target audience to the point where they're so bought in that, they're asking you for services. They're looking at you as the expert. They're going onto your site proactively. I've never spent $1 on paid ads, and other than for my podcast. For my business, I've never spent $1 on paid ads. All I do is build my personal brand across all these platforms, and people reach out to me. My entire business is either guests that have come on my podcast or people that are referred or find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And so I would suggest that you guys focus a lot more on your personal brand. To me, that is like the number one social currency right now. Paid ads, that's how you get lost. To me, that's just like a gimmick for all these apps to make money on you. To your point, you really don't know who that's getting served to. It's not anybody who asks. You want people to organically find your stuff and be so bought into you that they're willing to buy from you, and they trust you, and they're looking at you like the expert in your field. And so for me, paid ads on social media, I would never spend money on in that way unless I had something that I knew was really going to convert and it made sense. But I think people need to test their ideas first and grow an organic following that is buying from them first before they go pour money on paid ads. That's my perspective. I feel like that's like what you do to, help when you're like stagnant. You know what I mean? And I feel like people don't grow their personal brand enough, and they just want to like, game the system in terms of paid ads. And I feel like that's not sustainable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Are you okay to take these questions?
I'm fine. This is fun. I love this stuff.
Okay.
I told you I told you I had to hop, but I don't even know what time it is. 10 more minutes.
Right.
Let's
not worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So everybody keep it to one question. All right. Not a chain of 10 questions. So go ahead, Chris.
So you're speaking my language with the content. I built brands with the content marketing, and it's always been pulling. So I can jive with you on that. But my question is on converting to not even that. Let's go to this. What patterns do you see when you're managing these other accounts and when you bring people on that perhaps may not be out there for others to see, like Alex Hermosi or Grant Cardone or these people? You could see the patterns in what they're doing from an outside perspective, but what patterns do you see on the inside that make a successful channel or successful campaign overall amongst many different platforms, or a non-successful one?
Okay, that's a really tough question. So basically what you're asking is like, what are the unobvious things that these guys are doing that make it so much better? So let's take Instagram. I'm just going to be real, guys. These platforms, a lot of them don't have organic growth. So to play the game on Instagram, you actually need to get services that are boosting your likes, boosting your comments, boosting your views, so you actually hit the explore page. And all of these influencers are doing that on Instagram. And if you don't do that, you're not eligible for the game. You will not hit the explore page. And the only other way that you are going to hit the explore page is to leverage reels and trending audio and do a great job that way. That is the only way to get any sort of organic reach on Instagram. Everything else has to be manipulated in order for you to even hit the explore page and get any sort of organic visibility. So I'm not saying that all of their views are fake, but what I'm saying is that they're boosting it so that it hits the explore page, and maybe, the first 20% is boosted and the rest is real, right? But that's how you have to play the game when there's no organic reach. On the other end of the spectrum is something like LinkedIn that actually has real people and organic reach there, where you can just stand out and like learn how to write captivating copy, learn how to write assets, like learn the trending assets, learn all the secrets to actually grow on that platform without having to do any of the boosting or anything like that. So I guess the thing that I'm trying to get at is these guys are boosting their content in that way, not paid ads, and boosting likes and boosting comments and boosting views, right? And I've got some good, if you guys are interested in that, I actually have some people who do a really good job at that. And that's the game that you have to play on Instagram if you're really trying to get noticed and grow your following. The other thing that they're using is automation. So there's all these automation services where like you can be like, okay, I like this person's following. I think that's a great lookalike audience for me. I want the people who use like entrepreneur hashtags, and then they will take your account and auto look at those people's stories and posts, and those people on their own accord might go and follow you. So they're playing those games all the time. The other thing that I would say is like they've got like lots of video content. They're shooting original video content, not just like taking clips from their podcast, but literally sitting there and recording content and being really proactive about it. And those are just some of the things that are on the top of my head. Like they're really focused into video and creating trending content that will captivate their audience.
I think if you could advise on some of those services, I know that maybe some people on here may have a question about those. I know some of them, but I'm sure that, whether you want to or not.
I don't use like any of those platforms. I actually have guys that have made like kind of homegrown solutions that I think work really well. So Alex, maybe what you can do is give them my assistant's email after this. If anybody's interested in any of this stuff, I can hook them up.
Perfect. Thank you for your reply there. And real quick question: how many new entrepreneurs are on LinkedIn, do you think, versus ones that have been there for a while? I'm done.
I think there's lots of new entrepreneurs. I think that platform's growing every day, and it's lots of young people. It's not just old people. I'm telling you, there's so many great people on LinkedIn right now that are using it just like they would Instagram. And like I would say like Facebook is dead, but LinkedIn is really alive, and a lot of people are ignoring that, and I think that's a mistake.
Thank you.
Nice. You snuck a second question in there. I'll let you pass because you're a new GP, so don't worry.
I owe you one.
All right, go ahead. Hey, so just real quick on that note, so a lot of people have seen how I've grown my channel like crazy. I boost my videos like crazy. Okay. And all my videos, most of them have a call to action. So even when you boost your video, like people are still like, if people are going to click on it and follow you, that means at least they're interested in your content a little bit. Okay. So that's what I also see as well. And at the end of all of my videos, I'm like, every Monday night, 7 p.m., mastermind, link in the bio, go to it, follow me. Like there's always a call to action to those. So like, I think boosting that way, is that what you're talking about? Like boosting your videos?
Are you talking about paid ads boosting or something else?
Paid boosting.
No, I'm talking about like it's so hard to explain, but like there's these guys that literally like, I don't know if they've got like virtual machines in the Philippines or what's going on, but they're literally boosting views. And what that does, it tricks the algorithm. It tricks the algorithm to push you into the explore page. And then you get more views on top of that. And all I'm trying to say is that most of the influencers that you see are paying money for those services. Sometimes they cost anywhere from, $700 a month to $5,000 a month, depending on how much they're boosting. But all those guys are doing that, and they're doing paid celebrity shout outs. They're doing giveaways to grow their following really fast.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing that. And the only way to grow on Instagram, I'm telling you, literally, the only way to grow is to go crazy on Reels. And so, Alex, I actually think you're doing a great job, and you need to just keep doing it. And focusing, it's all about focusing on one thing, building that to where you have the ability to leverage it, and then going on to the next thing. I think people don't focus enough on one thing.
Yeah, that's my main focus there right now for sure.
I think so.
Right. Cool. Andrea, one question.
So my biggest challenge with the whole social media is just doing it. So when you first started, how did you get yourself to do it?
Well, you've got to be motivated to do it. This is something that you need to be consistent with. It's something where you've got to practice every day. I remember when I started on LinkedIn, I had one job every day on the train, and that was to do my LinkedIn post. And on the way home, I would do my engagement, and I grew my channel to 60,000 people just having that one rule that every day I had to get, that was my only job on my train ride, right? And so I feel like if you give yourself that commitment where you force yourself to post every single day, what's going to happen? It's going to force you to experiment, to learn. You're going to learn how to use the features. You're going to learn how to write better copy. You're going to make better choices because you're going to notice what's working, what's not working. And the other thing that I would suggest is that you learn about it. When you get better at something, you're naturally motivated to continue on. So I would say pick a platform where your audience is hanging out, pick something that you're really interested in talking about, and just get started. That's the best advice that I could give you is get started and try to force yourself to do it until you feel like you're getting better, and you'll get motivated just by getting better at it.
Yes, consistency. Definitely found that to be it. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I had to unmute. I had to find that button. So my big thing, I still have a 9 to 5. And so I really want to use LinkedIn. I see the value in that, but I'm really concerned, like, what will my 9 to 5 think if they see that on there? I don't know
Don't
if like
have that concern.
everyone looks at it, or
so here's the thing.
It's real estate is not civil engineering. So
here's the thing. You have to, I'm so glad that you asked this question, because if I had that feeling, I would have been still at my 9 to 5 job. I'm literally living out my dreams. Alex has known me since I was young. Alex, would you say that I'm like the epitome of what I wanted to be when I grow up?
Yes, 100%.
Right? And it's all because
you inspired me so much too.
Thank you. But like, it's literally because I decided that, you know what? I'm tired of these gatekeepers telling me no. Like I said, I got rejected from radio. I got rejected from satellite radio, rejected from TV. I go to corporate, I'm running the marketing team, but I'm not getting promoted because I'm not a white man. Like, just being straight up, like, you know what I mean? I looked much younger than I was, and it was really hard for me to I was like, it's going to take me 20 years before I'm successful, like really successful. And I wanted to build my own asset. A social media account is a transferable asset that you can take with you no matter what job you have. If your business goes under, do you think they're going to give two shits about you? Like, I'm being real. No, they are not. You have to look out for yourself, and it is not illegal for you to have a social media channel or a personal brand, or for you to have interests outside of your day job. It's not 1950 anymore. It's not moonlighting. This is the way that the world works. And I grew everything. I had a whole other business while working at Disney streaming services on the side. And you know what? It gave me power. It gave me respect. Nobody could say anything to me because I literally was more popular than the CEO was on that platform. And so I had more power than the CEO. And so they couldn't even say anything to me. So in the beginning, some people might give you a side eye, but really it's because they're jealous of you even having the courage to get started. And so what I would say is, like, you put everybody's opinions to the side, because what you're doing is you're growing an asset for yourself. The biggest investment you could ever make right now is having a personal brand online. That is the only thing that's not going to go away, and it's becoming more and more important. It used to be that you could have in-person relationships, in-person contacts. Nobody cares anymore. If you don't have social proof, you have nothing. Like, I'm going to be real. Like, you don't even have job insurance without social proof. I was recruited from Disney because I grew my LinkedIn profile. I doubled my salary from my LinkedIn profile, for example. So it's like you're closing yourself off from all these opportunities by being scared of what other people think. And I would have an open conversation. I would, first of all, look at your employee contract, make sure that you're allowed to do something like this. And I'm sure you are. If you're already making money in real estate, chances are most people aren't. You're not allowed to be like, you can't make any other money outside of the company. Like, that's really rare. And also, it's non-competing. So that's your other angle. It's not like you're talking about another firm or something. It's non-competing. This is your life, your social media profile. They do not own that. That is your asset that you're allowed to build however which way that you want. And so I really would love for you to like reframe that, because what you're doing is you're stifling your future having that kind of a mentality.
Thank you. And quickly, personal brand would be my name, not my company name, correct?
So also a great question. In 2022, 2023 and beyond, You are your brand, okay? Your company is not selling anything. You're selling anything. Anybody who's buying from your company is buying because of you, right? And so personal brands do so much better than a company brand. I grew my personal brand and my company makes millions of dollars a year because of my personal brand, because they're bought into me, right? So reframe that also. You are your brand. It's important for you to be visible so people connect and feel emotionally connected to your brand. And so they feel that there's something behind the brand. A brand doesn't sell, right? Education and value sells, and that's coming from you. And so, of course, you want people to know what your company is about, but you want people to know what you're about, firstly.
Dude, you
Thank
dropping
you.
so many bombs. It's crazy. This is going to be the most watched replay of all time. Hey, Ian, and yeah, we've had some really big people on here too, but that you're dropping so many bombs. So we're gonna stop actually at Desiree. Desiree, you will ask the last question. And Nathan and Jason, you guys can send the questions to her email or her assistant when I send the follow-up email. Okay. So go ahead, Ian. Make it quick.
Oh, I didn't think I was gonna make it. So I have over 500 LinkedIn followers or connections. Typically, they're my software in real estate. What can I do to make them want to engage with me more instead of just send them a connection and DMing them?
Yeah. So what I would do is try to proactively find people who may be interested in your content. So first of all, let me ask you, are you posting on your feed?
Not anymore. I've been trying just to build my pipeline.
Okay, so that's number one mistake. You want to make sure that you're creating content that is going to pull the right people into your network, or at least want them to connect with you, right? So it's not enough to just invite somebody to connect and for you to just assume that they're going to want to connect with you. You want to make sure that you're providing value, and you do that by posting feed content. The other thing that I would say is a way to find the right people for your community once you do start posting content is to look for lookalike profiles. This is the way that I first grew my following. When I started on LinkedIn, I thought that Gary Vee had the perfect following for me. I'm like, anybody who's going to like his stuff is going to like mine too. He had a podcast, he talked marketing, he was motivating, and I thought we had very similar personalities. So people who I did this manually, now I automate it. I used to scrape the people on his post, whoever liked and commented, and I'd be like, hey, what's up? My name's Hala. I noticed you have I noticed you comment on Gary Vee's posts. If you like his stuff, you're going to like mine too. I'd love to connect. Then 9 out of 10 people accepted. Before I knew it, I had 10,000 of Gary Vee's fans. I'd comment. I'd be 100 likes on his comment. Those people felt really special that I reached out to them. They still reach out to me. I remember when you first started on LinkedIn, you reached out to me because of Gary Vee. Like, they still reach out, like, I can't believe how much you blew up. And then they started engaging on my content, and it allowed me to go viral on my own, right? And so lookalike profiles, there's a couple lessons in that. People who go on LinkedIn, a lot of them are looking for a job. They go on LinkedIn, they never log on, right? You want to have an active following, people who actually like and comment on posts. So that's why if you go to an influencer's page who has people liking and commenting on their posts, that means A, those people, if it's similar content as you, they like the same content. B, they actually engage on content. They're not like these silent, people that look at stuff and never engage, right? Those are the kind of people that you want to bring in your community so you can increase your engagement rate and go viral, right? And so there's lots of little tricks. I teach all about it in my course. But I would say if you really want to expand your network on LinkedIn, you've got to post content that is going to be value and of service. So shareable content that's motivational, interactive, educational, right? Those are the top 3 ways to create shareable content on LinkedIn. And then you want to proactively invite people who are active on LinkedIn, which means finding lookalike influencer profiles and proactively inviting those people into your network who will actually say yes once they look and see the valuable stuff that you're posting on your feed. Does that help?
That helps tremendously. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Okay, Desiree.
Hi. So I have a social media business. I have a company. And right now I do social media by myself for 15 companies. Nice. And I want to scale. So my question to you is, how did you turn, your social media presence into a business? Like, how did you find the people? Because, I don't want to just go on to like Fiverr and find people abroad to do stuff that I put my name on. Like, it's my brand, it's my company. How did you scale and know that you're going to get people that are going to be reproducing the type of content that you created to ensure that your brand is growing in accordance to what your mission was?
Sure. So I'll tell a funny story with this because it's pretty funny. So I had a volunteer team, right? When I first started my podcast, because I was, standing out on LinkedIn or whatever, people would reach out to me to volunteer for my team. And I had, like you, probably a video editing experience, graphic design, copywriting. So I would teach everybody how to do it, right? But at a certain point, I also needed to scale. And so I found this software called Video Husky, and it was unlimited videos. And it was just me at the time. I had no clients. And I was like, well, unlimited videos, that's perfect. And it was $700 a month. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. And they ended up firing me as a client because I took the unlimited video thing really seriously. And they were like, Hala, you need your own team. Like, we can't help you. Go find your own team. So I realized this company was based in the Philippines. And so I went and I looked at on LinkedIn, you can actually search companies and you can see who works there. And I reached out to every video editor that worked at that company and I was like, how much are they paying you? Like, and they'd be like $500. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll pay you $700. Come work with me. And then all of a sudden, instead of getting 2 videos a week for their unlimited deal, I had somebody working for $700 a month full time for me, making hundreds of videos a month. Right? And so, again, using LinkedIn to, find the right people. So I would not, especially with creative talent, there's really talented people in the Philippines, in India, in, South American countries as well, Poland, that have all these graphic and video editors. And what I would do is I would go on Upwork and I would look at people's work, or Behance is another place where you can find people's portfolios, and then find them on LinkedIn and reach out to them and be like, hey, what's up? Like, I would love to hire you for my team. Then have a Slack channel. And actually, it's not like you're not going to train them on your process or your templates or what good looks like. It doesn't matter if they're from another country. Right now in the social media game, if you're not outsourcing your stuff overseas, you're not going to be competitive enough price-wise. And so if you are going to scale for your creative team, I would say 100% outsource it. And by the way, people in the Philippines especially, their English is better than college students. I literally have copywriters that are better than college students or people who recently graduated that are my best copywriters who live in the Philippines. And so I would definitely not discriminate against outsourcing talent. And it's for a social media agency, you have to, or you're not going to be competitively priced. So I hope that helps. It's like, find people, look at portfolios, have assessments before you hire, have a Slack channel, have meetings, train them. It is totally possible to scale that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was extremely helpful.
You're welcome.
Wow. All right. So, because Mike is the man, Mike's the legend. So we're going to let Mike ask his question.
Okay.
Go ahead, bro.
Hey, thanks, Alex. I was appreciate it. And so I'm now, you talked about the old white guy, right? So you get to help the old white guy. So I already signed up. I'm signed up for the course next week.
Awesome.
Going to be there to learn and listen and figure out what we can do. And, I just grabbed a few things already and I was curious. So I've been trying to build up my LinkedIn. I had about 1,500 5 months ago. I'm about 4,200 now.
Nice.
And I know I'll get a lot of content from your course, but just, I love the thing you said about following the people that like to follow. But how do you find out how well the people are commenting or leaning into stuff more often?
In terms of the audiences that you're looking at, or like, ask your question differently.
So you said pick out the people that do a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
Right. So how do I know that they're engaging a lot with, can you just tell by like their activity level or something?
Yeah. So basically what you're going to do is first and this is all part of the course that I have everybody go through. you're going to basically go find your competitors, and you're going to try to find people in your niche. You probably already know who they are. People that you like their content, that you think their audience is a good audience for whatever you're selling. It's not necessarily your competitors. It's the people who have a similar audience that you think would want to buy from you or learn from you. Then you go look on their feed and you see who is liking and commenting on their posts. You always start with commenters. On LinkedIn, there's content scoring. Every engagement is a score. A like is 1 point. A comment is 2 points. A long comment is 2.5 points. A share is 4 points. You've got to think of everything as points, right? So if somebody is sharing something, they're really high value. People who share are the people who make you go viral, right? People who comment is most likely what you're going to find. And you're going to want to reach out to that person and be like, hey, I noticed you commented on, Barbara Corcoran's post. I also, talk about similar topics and I'd love to connect with you, right? We'll give you all these templates that you can use. Then you can send a follow-up message and give them something for free. Then you can, send them down your funnel, right? And so it's basically bringing people who are engaging on people's on profiles that are similar to yours that you want to bring into your network. And the other thing that it does is when you DM somebody, it actually signals to LinkedIn that you guys are friends, and they'll start feeding your content more to them. So they'll actually see it. So there's lots of little tricks to it. But I'm really excited you're joining the course because you're going to learn everything. So
yeah, no, I'm excited. Thank you. This was awesome.
You're welcome.
All right, cool. So listen, thank you so much for your time. I mean,
of course, this is fun. Really
yeah,
great job, Alex. I'm so happy for you, man. Big hugs.
Big hugs, big hugs. We're definitely going to be talking. I'm going to link up with you. We're going to talk about what I got going on and how we can work together. And definitely, I want the shortcut. Okay. I don't even want to figure it out on my own. I just want you to do it for me.
100%.
I got you guys. So, like I said, if you guys want the course, it's yapmedia.io/course. That's for LinkedIn. I will be putting out a podcast course probably in a few months. I need to get this one off the ground, and then I'll do a podcast course. They call me the podcast princess, and I owe everyone a course on that too. So excited to see some of you guys there. And thanks, Alex, so much for inviting me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll talk soon. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
All right. See ya. Wow. Was that freaking something or what? That was ridiculous. So
yeah, that was awesome.
Literally every question that was asked. So thank you guys for asking the question. I wanted to really respect her time. If, I would have had her going on forever, but I really wanted to respect her time. She said 30 to 40 minutes initially, and she went on for over an hour. So, really great. Okay. So